Hi, and welcome to the Men on the Path to Love podcast, the Relationship Rituals episode. I'm Bill Simpson, your host. I coach men who are struggling in relationship, how to communicate effectively, build trust, and deepen intimacy so they can be the best version of themselves in relationship and live the life they love. Often in relationship, there are times or moments where it feels a little too routine, kind of flat or outright boring, right? Well, it happens even in the best relationships. It's basically human nature. Where it becomes a problem is when it happens for so long that you begin to drift apart. And that's one of the worst things that could happen in your relationship. Now, you can break the boredom and add a little more spice to your relationship and feel more connected on a regular basis by adding some relationship rituals. What I mean by that is creating intentional and regular activities, behaviors, or even traditions that couples can do or come up with to help them deepen their emotional connection, have something they can share, and maintain a consistent sense of closeness in their relationship. I'm going to give you a bunch of examples of relationship rituals on this podcast, and I'll start with some rituals my wife and I came up with. The first one, and you may have heard me mention this before, is appreciations. We actually had in our wedding vows to say 3 appreciations to each other before we go to bed at night, and it really helps us to end the day by connecting on a positive note. Another ritual we have is we give each other a kiss each time before one of us leaves our home and when we come back. It's a simple expression of our love, and it's like the last thing we do when one of us leaves, because we don't know what's going to happen between the time we leave and come back. And then the kiss is also the first thing we do when we reunite, and it's a beautiful thing. We also spend some downtime together each evening. It may be as little as a half hour or to a couple of hours simply connecting on the couch. We have a thing we do when we need some support or connection. We say, "Can I give a hug?" And then we do, because we both had been in previous relationships where we were denied hugs. So we always make room for a hug, no matter what we're doing. Another ritual we do is having consistent talks, and it usually happens on the weekends, often when taking walks or just alone at home without any distractions of our devices. We use this time to check in with each other about what's current, and we often talk about plans for the near or maybe not so near future. And speaking of the future, once a year we talk about our vision of how we want our lives to be together. And we actually create a vision board to help us stay focused and ultimately manifest the vision. And it's pretty cool to see how it unfolds. We are some serious manifestors, the two of us. And we have the obvious rituals of honoring our anniversaries, of the day we met and the day we got married. And we do this whether it's on the anniversary or not. We just take time for just us, the two of us. And we try getting away, even if it's for a couple of days. And most recently, we celebrated our anniversary by renewing our vows in front of our adult kids and going out for dinner to celebrate. So those are some of the main relationship rituals that my wife and I practice. And I encourage you to give any or all of these a try. And if none of these work for you, well, here are some other rituals you might want to try. One that I hear a lot is couples having a date night. A lot of us have heard that, right? Bennett and Michelle, not their real names. And I don't use any of the couples' real names in this episode. Bennett and Michelle have a date night once a week. And they say it doesn't have to be some big elaborate date. It could be ordering takeout and watching a movie. They like going to new restaurants to check them out. And occasionally they go to concerts of artists that they both like. And they even make a date out of going for a run or maybe a yoga class together. The main thing they say is that they're doing something they both enjoy doing and spending time together. Then there's Kenny and Cassie. They have a pretty sexy lovemaking ritual that they practice. Before they make love, they both take a hot bath so they can be nice and relaxed. Maybe they have a glass of wine. They light candles, put on sexy music, and they turn off the lights and take some time to make eye contact and connect with each other. And then let the fireworks begin. And afterwards, they enjoy holding each other and listening to some love music. Their concert, as Cassie puts it. It's a wonderful way for them to feel connected, respected, and loved. Andy and Portia like cooking and eating together. They say preparing food together requires them to work together and to collaborate. It also gives them an opportunity to talk, to bond, and simply have fun being with each other, doing what they love to do, cook and eat. Now, Gary and Susan have a gratitude journal that they share. With a gratitude journal, they enter things they are grateful for about each other, as well as some of the good times that they've shared together. The gratitude journal serves as a way to record positive things and events in their lives. And every once in a while, they take a look through their journal together, and it helps them connect, especially when they get caught up in life's stressful moments. Now, Aaron and Denise have what they call an apology and forgiveness ritual that they use after they've had an argument or a conflict, that they say that helps them stay connected, and it helps keep anger and resentment from building up. They have a mantra, they say, which is a variation on a famous quote. They say, "I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you." And they mean it. There's a ritual that Jim and Pat do, and that is taking classes and workshops as they like to learn together. Yeah, from taking Tai Chi and dance classes to workshops on how to renovate their home or how to improve their relationship. They say it really helps them to feel like they're growing together, and it also bonds them around a common interest. A similar ritual is Jack and Diane's practice of having a shared hobby. They both love to hike and explore national parks across the country. And again, they have a common activity they say helps them feel connected as they enjoy time together and doing what they love to do. Now, Melvin and Shanice have a ritual, and that's giving random surprise gifts. The gifts can be as simple as maybe some lemonade for one and pastry for the other, or sneakers and clothes from their favorite designer, or her favorite jewelry and his favorite cologne. Shanice says that they love to put a smile of surprise on each other's face, no matter how simple the gift. And one last ritual I love is what George and Trina do, and that is having no tech time. And that's kind of what my wife and I do, but mostly on the weekends. George and Trina set aside at least a half hour each day to turn off all devices and screens, and they spend time focusing solely on each other. And that's awesome. So now you've got a lot of great ideas to work with in establishing rituals in your relationship. And I know you might think some of this stuff is corny, and they kind of are corny, right? Yet using any of these rituals or any rituals the two of you come up with can help you get away from the boredom and routine and all the negative interactions and open up to a more positive way of communicating with each other and create a respectful space for dealing with confrontation and disagreements. Now, it's important to understand that making these relationship rituals work requires consistent effort from both of you. Being willing to listen to each other, and most importantly, to commit to understanding and supporting each other. You'll hear me say this a lot. Nothing happens until you commit. This commitment is for the long term of your relationship. Here's a quote about rituals in relationship by the guy who wrote the book about the 5 love languages, relationship expert Gary Chapman. He simply says, "Through shared rituals, we transform everyday actions into expressions of love and commitment." There you go. And that will bring to an end this episode of the Men on the Path to Love podcast, the Relationship Rituals episode. I'm Bill Simpson, your host. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you found it useful. So last week, a listener, a woman actually, gave me a suggestion for a topic for an episode. She was recently on a date with this middle-aged guy who she described as someone with an avoidance personality, which is a thing. It's basically someone who avoids situations, emotions, or experiences that they find uncomfortable or stressful. She said it wasn't the first time she experienced this with men, and it frustrates her to no end. Well, apparently there are a lot of men out there on the dating scene who have avoidance personalities. It could be a good reason why they're dating and not in a long-term relationship, because avoidance can have a huge negative impact on relationships. And guess what? There are women who have avoidance personalities too. Please join me for the next episode of the Men on the Path to Love podcast, the Navigating Avoidance in Relationship episode. And remember, if you have any ideas for the show, any topics you'd like for me to cover, if you have any issues in your relationship you need help with, or any feedback about the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Please email me at bill@pathways2livingwell.com. That's bill@pathways2livingwell.com. You can also find my email address in the show notes. And if you know someone who you think might benefit from listening to this podcast, come on now, share the link and share the love. And until next time, keep your heart open and stay on the path to love.